saying that the ukulele has its origins in Hawaii, although that is under some conjecture. Of course, ukulele literally translating as jumping flea. I think I'm right in saying, Jack?
Yes, I have heard that is the literal translation. As our friend Penelope, who in fact told us that fact, is coming out of the pub wearing a t-shirt for the band, the Jumping Fleas, who of course get their name from the aforementioned translation. Lovely big globe of gin and tonic there coming out of the pub, I think, Jake. Enormous sort of goldfish bowl size goblet of gin and tonic, and two sort of, I think they probably were pints, weren't they, being carried by the gentleman behind. Not a drop spilt. The judges will be pleased with that as they take up their seat there. Food bins just on the backside of platform 1.
Yes, excellent work there, carrying those beverages to their ultimate. Cooling sustenance on this rather hot evening, beautiful summer's day, where so many alternatives to be had in the centre of town. Of course, we've made our way up from the Midlands today, Jack. There were other alternatives for commentary of a more small leather ball and willow bat nature to be had. One can only imagine at this point how that's panning out.
Yes, people at home might think we are ruining the invitation to come to this festival in lieu of being able to commentate on the Ashes or other sporting events taking place today, but not a thing of it. We are very, very happy to be here, where really all the action is. One pities those gathered at Edgbaston today, in fact, having to watch whatever is unfolding, when we can give you news just in that the X63 to Brad has pulled up at bus stop S2. It's a stop service, so anyone getting on that really does need to check. Choir is the stop that will be stopped at. Stops in that sentence, but I think I got through. 63 is taking in this cohort before it makes its way to Bradford via Brighouse and Wyke, unless I've said that wrong, or Wick. It's probably Wick actually, isn't it? Yes. We're back. Sorry, I'm just hearing in my ear that we're back on.
Suddenly, not able to move, so you can't get the Jack so brilliantly described to Bradford. Jack, what that's highlighted to me is the building behind, which clad in of the kind of building behind. Could it be the building behind, or is it an older or younger building? A very faithfully rendered photographic large scale picture there. What must be 30-40 meters across and up.
Yes, in the scaffolding, of course, which is up there for the building behind. We the building behind to confirm or deny the rumours that the image on the cladding is in fact the image of the building behind, but
or indeed that there is even a building. Even a building.
News of that come to the front of the taxi. Taken a passenger out while my back was turned, and taxi 28 edges towards the front of the queue. Still no big need in terms of passengers at this stage.
And another gentleman just making his steam. Sparks t-shirt. Sparks, of course, famous duo. Jackie's made his way up the steps, and the lady in the beautiful pink Hawaiian outfit also follows him back in. He's been outside, just taking perhaps a breath of fresh air before going back to join the jamming inside. Still, through the window, we can see of the era who's closest to the window there coming away. Perhaps in a moment's time we'll make a short visit to the jamming rooms, of which there are 2 or 3 as far as I know. Old ukulele players are jamming to the same tune and the beat of the same drum, or whether they're ploughing their own furrow.
Well, beat to the same drum, Jake. Interesting to note that we haven't actually seen any drums at this point, so beat, but that doesn't mean there isn't a beat, as percussive sounds can of course be made by a ukulele.
And work on the same rhythmic premise as other stringed instruments such as the guitar. One can strum or pluck, or play with the teeth, as we were discussing.
Of course, more played his guitar with a cigarette, I believe. Perhaps he does that with a vape these days for health and safety reasons. But I'm just wondering, Jake, the wrist is showing the reason we can see it is because it's showing the fluorescent orange of a festival wristband. It's the same colour as our wristband, so presumably we've got the same privileges and access that we do. I wonder why it is then that we should not be given the same access and privilege as she has to the very space. Is it just capacity, would you say, Jake?
I can only imagine that's the case at the moment. Who knows, maybe we'll make a short visit inside the hallowed rooms of the Head of Steam, where have taken place in these great buildings, certainly over 100 years old, perhaps more towards the as we can see on the crest of the building here, 1830, conveniently in the numerals rather than Roman form, which made it a lot easier for me.
Yep.
Similar period, obviously. Theatre.
6. I've misunderstood the numbering there. Just noting that there's quite a few. There's a bit of an exodus now, Jake, of people is out of the pub, managing to also balance drinks. Some opting for cans opened, which of course makes the easier. Others trying to manage the and ebb and flow of the very full glass. Some having to adapt their ukulele carrying techniques as they, as I see over the other in his right hand is carrying the case. The handle in his left hand, but he's also got, Jake, a sort of over-the-shoulder record bag. It's really is a sort of dexterous feat of carrying and balance that has served him well to get to the table without either dropping a can or spilling any of the drink along the way.
Beautiful work, Jack. One can only assume that his ukulele playing is as dexterous and deft. Sadly, we are still unable to make our way into the Head of Steam. But who knows? We're hoping to make a short visit before moving on to one of the other festival venues. We met a couple of ladies earlier who were looking for the Northern Quarter, which we were unable to direct them to.
That's right. We're not familiar with these parts, but people now coming out of the pub. Ukuleles, some of them out of their cases, Jake. The cases are being carried, but they are empty. The ukuleles are on straps around necks and shoulders. Clearly these people leaving the pub now have been hard at it I don't know if that is actually from the gut of a cat or not, but perhaps the viewers at home will message in to let us know.
You make a good point, Jack. I was actually referring to the casing rather than the string. But yes, indeed.
Of course, my apologies. Yes, I assumed you were talking about the strings, which are often plastic these days, but
and some weary ukulele players just exiting again from the head of steam. They've clearly had a wonderful session of jamming. Good jam, folks. Good jam. Excellent jam. Not, of course, the confiture style, but of the musical variety. And I'd say there's a steady stream in and out. So the more people leave the jam session, the more people arrive. Jack, perhaps you can put me right.
No, I can't put you right. I also am unaware of such a thing, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
And a lady with the turquoise wristband pointing to the fact that she has... two ladies, in fact, that pointing to the fact that they have indeed paid for their tickets to the festival for the entire weekend. And both, in fact, wearing their ukuleles with pride, over a shoulder strap, one forward, one behind, ever ready to pull out a tune. In fact, one's happening right now. Not entirely an entire song, but more of a flourish,
yes.
One might say. More of a ukulele flourish.
If ukuleles could do a fanfare, that was sort of in that sort of area in a way.
Indeed. Not entirely sure what key that was, but she did seem to have some fingers on frets. It wasn't just an open strum. Of course, Jack, as you might know, I don't know, the ukulele tuning is famously tuned to the sentence, "I have got fleas." No, not "I have got fleas." I've got that all wrong. "My dog has fleas." Are you aware of this?
No. How on earth is that a tuning system?
Well, Jack, I am not entirely sure as to the origins of it, and the letters of the words do not point to the tuning. As of course, notes following just a picture of A, B, C, D, E, F, stopping short of H. Indeed, ukuleles are the sentence "flee," or to put it with a slightly more tuneful twist, "My dog has fleas." Not entirely sure. I was blessed with a fairly decent inside that old noggin.
In another life, Jake, you had a musical career.
That's right, Jack. Sadly, not with the string. I haven't got the fingers for it. More precious piano hand type of person. But hope we can get some information over the course of the next couple of hours as we do commentate. Right. If you can finish that for me.
You can commentate all like I'll do the commentating. Just looking back through the window, I was about to say there's no sign of any jamming through our vantage point, but then I did see that the wristband, the fluorescent wristband, did seem to pick up a ukulele from the wall and is now straight. So on declaring the end of the jam session in that room. Evidently still going on. There's still some outside here in the outside drinking areas.
Taking a short break.
Bit of R&R.
There must be, I'm sure, Jack, this world record for a excessive jam session of a ukulele, perhaps over the course of a couple of days, maybe. You speculate as to the world record for constant ukulele jamming might be?
It would depend on the rules of the definition, I think. Jake, does it require all participants to play non-stop altogether? Does it allow them to groups and shifts? that would certainly
Extend it somewhat.
so yeah, assuming it's one group all at once until they stop, I think you're probably looking at a good 48 hours maximum is my view. Also dependent on toilet break, kind of requirements for food, and
Slightly more complex than keeping your hand on a as sometimes the endurance test.
Yes.
I say keeping your hands playing a tune on the ukulele was a far more useful skill.
It's more of a. I'm glad we're at the festival commentating on that than we are at the Touch the Van. It'd be. Thankfully, though, we're at the former, and the jam session inside through the window has taken a short break again, as I noticed that the ukulele, but also many ukulele players still outside, as one of our former interviewees is lighting a cigarette, which doesn't get them into trouble with loved ones who may or may not disagree with that. But there was also one ukulele player got a pint left, furiously sending a text and drag on a vape.
And as a cooling evening breeze now descends upon the centre of Huddersfield, just outside the station here, in the adequate named pub, just a slight sense of anticipation descend, like the wind, as other star white wine, perhaps not the first that she's had in today's festivities.
Hard to tell from here, though, if that's
difficult. She's seeking out out on the forecourt. Still not of any playing outdoors. None of the jam sessions made its way out into open air, on plein air, as the French would say.
Yes, it's quite possible, of course, that if there's one thing a ukulele player is, it's adherent to bylaws and regulations. So if the head of steam license does not extend to their outside areas, then there's every reason not to strike up a tune on. But be that people just fancy, and as the taxi rank jumps up even more, I think a big flurry of passengers have been elsewhere.
And
I'd say the taxis are moving a good 3 or 4.
A couple of these good gentlemen returning to their vehicles as there is a bit of movement on the forecourt, and who knows, perhaps picking up people returning from their weekly commutes, coming home to their loved ones after a week away, perhaps, and getting one of these good books to bring them home.
Yes, gentlemen there coming sip from very full drinks to avoid any unnecessary spillages as he navigates those 3 steps. Of course, part of the original fabric of an old building, not perhaps as level as be required by current building regulations. So very sensible to take precautions and make sure the drinks at risk in changing altitude coming down those steps.
Very wise, Jack, very wise. I think I might take this opportunity to visit one or two of the rooms inside. Happy to
Yes, I'll hold the fort.
fill in the listeners on the scene still. I'll be back shortly with news, if I can, of any. Perhaps I can. A little bit of vocalising. Back shortly.
Yes, thank you, Jake, for being an intrepid roving commentator there to go and find out what's happening inside. Yeah, the wind is carrying the tones of singing and playing. Well, I say it can only be described as that. It could probably things lovely, for example, but we're not quite close enough to be totally on top of what tunes are being or indeed sung. To the fray to can the various rooms inside the pub that will be being used for jamming. Actually, already come back out of the pub, so very found.
Slightly dizzy, Jack. Slightly dizzy with the vibes. Returning as I am from a heady scene inside the pub on the room to the left as we enter, which appears to be where the action is genuinely happening. At least 30, if not 40, ukulele players, a couple of tambourines even. We mentioned a bit of percussive instrumentation there earlier, and definitely in sight. No drums as yet, but beautiful bit of tambourine playing to the tune of that famous number, which was once rethought of in the 1980s, "Spirit in the Sky." I think that's an old 60s tune, Jack, but famously covered in the 80s by Doctor and the Medics, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, and more latterly, for the younger listener, Gareth Gates also covered it, I think, for Comic Relief. But
I couldn't possibly comment. I thought that for you only are concerned with music from one very specific moment in your childhood. But I did notice on my way in, Jack, as well, a small group actually outside, as we were talking about earlier.
Cabs here at the taxi rank, but one seems to be objecting from the taxi drivers union, so that's allowed to carry on. And yes, people weight off their feet and relying on the neo-Doric columns. Just speculating. Architectural knowledge is not what it should be, but certainly those columns up to the task of supporting the leaning weight of the various ukulele players